People at my church have requested a recipe for my chili, and I don't have a recipe. What I do is take 2 pounds of ground beef or hamburger, I cook it, and after it's cooked, I drain it, and that's what we're seeing right now. Meanwhile, I put uh, diced up onions, cut up onions into my saucepan, and I put a little olive oil and I sauteed it just a little bit, and then I get my ground beef and I add my ground beef to the onions, and then I just stir it up. And this is my homemade chili. And once I get the ground beef all into there, I stir it up a little bit and mix the onions and the ground beef together. And then it still overheats, so I don't leave it too long without getting some liquid underneath there. So these are homemade canned tomatoes, but any store-bought tomatoes is fine. I just want to hurry up, pour that quart of tomatoes in, stir it in a little bit so things don't get too hot or burned underneath there. Now I start adding all my stuff. The first thing I add is my chili mix. This is a seasoning mix. There's all kinds of different chili mixes. You can just put in your favorite or most common used one. If you never used any, you'll see all those packets, but just dump the whole packet right into the pan. I'll get my spoon moved over a little bit. And once we get that, I'm going to add a lot of ingredients to this chili, and I don't measure anything out. So I'm adding 2 cans of just chili beans, and this is the type of that I use. It's not chili, it's just chili beans. And once I get that in, then I add tomato sauce, and I pour that right over the beans there. And after adding the sauce, I stir it up a little bit. Get it all mixed in together a little bit there. And what I do now is I grab some more diced tomatoes. These are these a little bit on the hotter side. I can't think what you call them, but it's got a pop-up lid. You can put any tomatoes you want. You just have to decide what kind of chili you like. Now, these are a little bit peppered type of tomatoes, so that they got a little bit of a kick to them, not a whole lot. You put whatever tomatoes you want. I add some water and I mix it back and forth in the cans to try to. Everybody likes a clean can before you throw it in the trash, right? So I just take my cans, I put water in them, and then I swoosh it around and go back and forth with it and just clean the cans and add the water to my chili. Of course, the base of my chili is tomatoes, as you can tell. I've got a good bit of tomatoes in there. So once we get all that added into that, we're going to start adding other stuff. I put chili powder in. Again, I don't measure any of this stuff. I literally got a pantry door full of spices on a rack on the door. I open it up and I just start looking at them and I start grabbing. So I see garlic salt. I'm going to put garlic salt into this. No measuring, just shaking some in. I'm looking at my door, grabbing another spice, and what do I find? Oh, here we go, garlic powder. So I'm going to put some garlic powder into that. There's no rhyme or reason. I don't put no poultry seasonings or anything like that in there, but things I think would go into the chili. Parsley flakes. Not sure what flavor parsley flakes would add to anything, but it's in the drawer there in the spice rack, so I'm going to add a little bit of it. That's the way I look at things. And I grab some more out of there, and what do I find next? And looking through, I grab some crushed red pepper. This kind of makes the chili a little spicy, a little hot, gives it a little kick. You add accordingly. You may not want to put any in at all, and that's fine. I like sweet, spicy chili. So I add my crushed red pepper and those peppered tomatoes. Here's some cumin, ground cumin. Don't have a clue what it'll do for chili. All I know is I just grab it, put a little bit in, don't measure it. Craziest chili you ever seen, right? And the next thing I look into the door and I find, how about some turmeric? grounded turmeric. I'm going to put some of that in there. I put that on fish before. Why not chili, right? So let's see what else we can find on our spice rack. Oh, here we go. Paprika. And it adds color to it, I guess. I don't know. A little bit of seasoning, flavoring. Stir all this in a little bit. You can start seeing how it's starting to give it a richer look. The lights are deceiving on my videos. It never looks like it looks in person. It either gives a yucky look. Here's Teragon. I have no clue what Teragon is, but I'm putting some in my chili. And again, I just dump some in, not a ton, but it's enough to add a little bit to it. And all that mixed together, it really makes a good chili. I've got a lot of compliments on my chili. Here's some leaf oregano. I know you usually put this in pizzas a lot, but hey, let's put a little bit in the chili here. When you mix it all in, you don't have to taste any one individual spice that I'm putting in here. It just blends in together, and it just makes a nice, rich chili texture with lots of flavor. I'm all the time getting people asking for the recipe. I said, well, I don't have a recipe, and this is as close as I can get for you. Here's some coarse ground black pepper. I don't always add all this stuff in my chili. If I don't have any garlic powder, then I won't be putting garlic powder in. If I have dried onion flakes, I'll put dried onion flakes in there, which I usually do, but I didn't have none this time. So, I mean, this is nothing set. You just look through your spices and think, well, this looks like it'd be good in the chili, then add it. And then I go from my spice rack to my refrigerator. Here you see me putting some just taco sauce into it. And some of these things might seem a little bizarre to you, and they may be. Here's some ketchup. I always put ketchup and mustard into my chili. That's two things I always have in my refrigerator. Taco sauce sometimes I don't. That depends. So some of the things I put in there, there's nothing solid. I mean, you just put in what you think would add to your chili. I can't. I've never put salad dressing in my chili. I don't know what that would be like. It might be good. I've never tried it. I don't know what made me start making chili like this. I just made chili and I just started putting stuff in it, and it was good. So I'm getting some more stuff out. Here's some Country Bob's steak sauce. I really like Country Bob's. Kind of expensive stuff. I ain't putting a ton of it in there, but it's got a lot of kick to it. Not hot. I got a lot of flavor to it. So I just thought I'd put a little bit of that in there. And then I got some soy sauce. We're going to put soy sauce in there. I usually have some of that in my refrigerator because I like to make fried rice and some dishes like that. So we'll put a little soy sauce in there. And you can see I just don't measure anything. Does my chili taste different each time? Here's some A1 steak sauce. Yeah, my chili tastes a little different, but it's always got a nice rich taste to it. I can't explain that to you. But you got to understand also, I like sweet chili. So some people have never heard of that before, but at the end of cooking my chili, I add brown sugar. Here's some grape jelly in my refrigerator. The jar is almost empty, so I'm going to go ahead and just scrape it clean, use what I can out of it so I can throw the container away and get the last little bit used up out of that. I've also made some jalapeno mustard, and it's kind of a sweet, hot mustard, and I have a little bit of that in my refrigerator also, so it's almost empty as well, so I'm going to grab that. And I'm going to empty it into my chili as well. I know I already put yellow mustard in it, but this mustard has a little bit of a kick because of the jalapeno peppers that are in it. It's yellow mustard with sugar and some cornstarch and that kind of stuff in it. Here's some Worcestershire sauce. I never could say that word very good. We'll add a little bit of that in there. And Sweet Baby Ray's. hickory and brown sugar barbecue sauce. Love that stuff. That adds some good flavor to the chili too when you mix that in with all the other stuff. I'm just going through my refrigerator and I'm looking at what I've got. Oh, here's some salsa. Let's put some salsa in the chili. That's what I look at, and there's no rhyme or reason to the things. I don't put milk in it. There's the jar from my jalapeno mustard. I actually cut out a little bit. It wasn't tons of it in there, but I put water in a jar to try to clean it out and get some of the last bit of mustard out of there. So when it's washed in the sink, we ain't got a lot of mustard in the sink. So I'm pouring all that in there. You can see I still got a little room at the top of my pan to add a little more stuff. My wife had used Mrs. Wage's chili base, stuff that she made out of tomatoes. I went ahead and put that in there. You don't have that, I'm sure. It's no big deal. Some people put tomato juice, tomato sauce. If I've not got lots of tomatoes, I'll use tomato paste along with my tomato sauce. But I get a nice, rich tomato base for my chili. Now I get all this stuff into the pot and I stir it up real good. And I put it on medium to medium high in between there. And once it starts bubbling pretty good, boiling, then I stir it and I turn it down to simmer. And I probably let it sit and simmer for close to an hour. And you could tell the difference in the texture of the chili. It starts thickening up. And when it starts getting in that thickening up stage towards the end, that's when I get the brown sugar out. And what I do is I just open the bag of brown sugar and pour some sugar in there and stir it up. And I do it to taste. I use 2 spoons. I stir it up with the big wooden spoon, and then I get a metal spoon on the side, and I'll dip some out and pour it into my spoon, blow on it to cool off, and then taste it. I don't like to taste right out of the spoon and put it back in the chili and put all my germs on everybody's food, so I don't do it that way. If it's not sweet enough for me, I'll put some more brown sugar in and stir it up, taste it again, and I add brown sugar to taste. You might want to not put any brown sugar in your chili, and that's your option. You're fine to do that. I'm also making a pizza, and I'm putting the dough over here on the stove to help the heat from it to make it rise and that. So that's my chili. No special ingredients, just a little bit of everything. If you don't have something, that's fine. You want to use something else, that's fine. Experiment. Just start adding a lot of different stuff into it there and see what kind of taste that you can get out of your chili. Don't be scared to experiment. When you put them all together, they really blend in good. Just make sure you put several and don't put over too much of any one particular one, just a nice blend. And that's my chili recipe for those who always ask. Turn the light out. You can see the color change in it. And the lighting in my video, I just don't know. That looks a lot sickening there, but it's a nice red. It's a beautiful color. So let me know how it turns out for you. I'd like to hear if you try this. I'd like to hear what came of it for you. Thank you.